My sincere greetings to one and all. Today we are going to discuss Sonnet 18, which is written by William Shakespeare. This sonnet has been prescribed in the syllabus of BA 3rd semester English pass course students. Before starting with the line by line explanation of the sonnet, let me tell you something about the poet first. This Sonnet 18 is written by William Shakespeare. He was a well known playwright and poet of the Elizabethan age. He was born in 1564 at Stratford upon Avon. As a young man, he left Stratford for a career in London, where he joined a theatre company as an actor and playwright. He wrote more than 30 plays, which include histories, tragedies, comedies, and pastoral romances. His plays were first published in quarto editions, which began to appear in 1597. A complete edition of his plays was published in 1623. This is known as the first folio, the first fully authorized edition of his plays. Sonnet 18, which we are going to discuss today, is often titled as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? It is the first poem among the sonnets which explicitly does not encourage the fair youth to marry and have children, and it is the first rhyme to pay tribute to the beauty. The poet relies on his poetic powers to immortalize the qualities of fair youth. The poem is a statement of praise about the beauty of the fair youth who is more lovely and temperate than a summer's day. This sonnet is remarkable for its simplicity and loveliness. Now let's start with the line by line explanation of this sonnet. Let me explain to you the opening lines. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Sonnet 18 is a sonnet which is devoted to praising a friend or a lover, traditionally known as the fair youth. The sonnet itself is a guarantee that the person's beauty will be sustained. William Shakespeare opens this sonnet with a question addressing his friend or beloved that, Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? The speaker is in confusion whether he should compare the young man's beauty with that of a summer's day or not. And then he drops the idea as he believes that his friend is too perfect to be compared with a summer's day. In the next line, he emphasizes that his dear friend is more lovely and more temperate than the summer. Whereas the summer is extreme with its harsh days, his love's beauty is gentler and more restrained than the summer season. Now let's take up the next two lines. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. In these lines, the speaker has personified summer season. He says that the violent summer winds are a threat to the beautiful new flower buds that popped up in the early summer season in the month of May. He argues that summer doesn't last very long. It will end, and it is only for a short period of time or for a short lease. Lease means a contract by which one party conveys land, property to another party for a specified time. In the same way, the summer must abide by the agreements made to the weather. Let's take up the next two lines. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. In these lines, nature is again personified. The poet says that sometimes the sun, which is the eye of heaven, is too hot, and sometimes it is too dimmed due to the presence of clouds. So, the poet refers the sun as the eye of heaven and the golden face of sun as his golden complexion. The poet is praising the beauty of his beloved friend indirectly by showing us the shortcomings of the otherwise beautiful summer season. The next two lines, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Here, the speaker says that everything changes with time. Even the most beautiful things fade and lose their charm. He says that all beautiful things, every fair thing, will eventually become less beautiful. The law of nature makes every beautiful object lose its grace with the passage of time. It is predestined that every mortal thing would lose its loveliness either due to misfortune or by chance or by the natural process of decay. Untrimmed means which is not trimmed or cut, the things which are shaggy. Let me take up the next two lines. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. In these lines, Shakespeare says that though the beauty of things declines with time, but the beauty of youth or his beloved friend will not degrade. The beloved summer, that is, his happy summer days, is eternal and will never fade of its charm, nor will the beauty of his friend. Owest, or otherwise interpreted by many as honest, conveys the idea that beauty is something which is borrowed from nature and it must be paid back as the time goes by. Shakespeare confidently says that his friend would never lose his beauty or fade away like other mortal elements, as he would make him immortal through the lines of his verse. His friend would continue to have his place in this world through his sonnets. Now let's take up the next two lines. Nor shall death brag, thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. In these lines, Shakespeare says that death will not be able to boast seeing the lover wandering under its shade. The speaker personifies death here. He opines that although death has always had an upper hand over life, it is very powerful, but the beauty of his friend will live in his poem through eternity. The death will never be able to lay hands on his beloved as he is immortal. Death is shown as someone who can brag or boast about the souls he has taken to the darkness, that is, in his shade. Death will not be able to boastfully drag the poet's friend to its shade. The poet feels that his friend or his lover shall stay fair and even cheat death and time by becoming eternal. Now let's take up the concluding lines of this sonnet. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. These last two lines are couplets, and here William Shakespeare makes a prediction that this sonnet about his beloved's beauty will be acclaimed throughout the ages till men live on this earth. As long as life will go on, this sonnet will be read by men and women. Through his poem, his love will also live. And through this sonnet, his love will also live. In this mortal world, every object is subject to decay and death. The inevitable ravages of time devour all the elements of nature. So, beauty can never be preserved permanently unless it is eternalized through the lines of poetry. The poet is confident in this sonnet that his poetry has the power to eternalize his friend's beauty. As long as human beings live and as long as people read his poetry, his sonnet, which is written about his friend, would live on. His poetry would give life to his friend again and again. Thus, he would eternalize his friend's beauty through the lines of his verse. Students, I hope that you have developed a clear understanding of this sonnet by now. Let me summarize this whole sonnet for you. The poet begins the sonnet with a question. as to whether he could compare the beauty of his friend with that of the summer's day. The poet states that the beauty of his friend is more temperate than the summer's day. Summer's day is inconsistent as the summer sun is either too hot or clouded and dimmed at times. Often the rough winds shake the buds of May, but the poet is confident that the beauty of his friend is going to withstand the ravages of time. The poet is confident that his poetry will eternalize his friend and bestow immortality on him. As long as men can live and breathe, his poetry would ensure that his friend would be remembered and the beauty of his friend would live forever. This was all about the explanation part of this sonnet. Thank you and have a nice day.